regular dudes.
What stuff?
Get your popcorn ready.
Welcome to Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. I'm your host, Jamie G. Esquire, the fifth master of reconnecting with old friends.
I'm your huckleberry.
I'm here with Magnum and the Soupdeucer to discuss what we've recently watched and talk about the pilot episode of the Showtime series Yellowjackets. Guys, tonight I'm supporting a local brewery and enjoying a variety, a bevy, if you will, of great beers. Cheers.
It's one of those things. I don't know how many beers are in a bevy. Like, I don't know how many Yellowjackets it technically takes to make a swarm or how many crows it takes to make a murder. I am Magnum Mills. I do not have a murder of crows. I have a very cold, very cool Coors Light. And I'm also very happy that you're checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all the good ones. We're there. We're also on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff. And if you're listening and not watching, you can easily find our YouTube channel at joeblowfootballshow.com. Or if you're already at YouTube, just go ahead, search for Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Soupdeucer, how you living tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I'm drinking something a little bit random. Miller Lite in these weird bottles. Ultra random, but hey, why not, man? They're going down pretty smooth. So fuck it, man.
The wide mouth.
A little bit of a wide mouth, man, but it's drinkable. I haven't had a Miller Lite in a pretty fucking long time, and they're good enough, man. One of you guys hates that beer, though, isn't it? Like,
I don't mind it, but sometimes I think it's more of the when you get it off tap, it messes my stomach a little bit. That's like there's not really a big difference between your Bud Light, your Coors Light, your Miller Lite as far as taste goes or whatever. It just sits funny in my stomach. I think definitely stadium drafts is where it gets me. Like sometimes you go to the stadium, they only have Miller Lite. Miller Lite stadium beer just doesn't sit well with me for some reason.
I hear you. So a murder of crows. What is it? A gaggle of geese? A flock of seagulls? I once had a plethora of balloons, but I no longer have a plethora of balloons.
Be a popular man at a concert.
Yes, I would be.
2 for 30, dude. No deals. Firms. Guys, I will say that, Mills, they don't call it the silver bullet for nothing. But before we talk about the pilot episode of Yellowjackets, let's discuss what other wonderful things we've filled our eye holes with over the last week. Mills, have you watched anything else recently that you would like to briefly talk about, recommend here on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff? No spoilers, though, please. I beg of you.
I've definitely been filling my eye holes up with my contacts. I am running low and I need to go to the eye doctor, and I hate doing all of that. As far as quick check-in stuff, still watching The Last of Us. That's still very good. If you're not watching it, you should. I checked out the season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian. I liked it. If you like the first 2 seasons, you'll like it. But if you really want to know what's going on, you probably have to watch the last 3 episodes of the Boba Fett show. Just saying, if you really want to figure out exactly why things are the way they are when the episode opens, you probably have to see that. R.I.P. Tom Sizemore, great actor in lots of stuff. Crazy amount of work. Dude's been putting in work. He still has 30 upcoming projects posthumously on IMDb, so we won't be seeing the last of him. And I was trying to find a good Sizemore flick to recommend that was kind of off the beaten path. I watched the Sylvester Stallone flick, Lockup. I watched it so you didn't have to. That's not very good. As far as actual stuff I enjoyed, I've now seen the first 2 episodes of the new season of Party Down, but no spoilers here. Really enjoyed him. They basically have the entire cast back except Lizzie Kaplan. You do miss her, but they've added a couple of new people into the mix. Jennifer Garner especially stands out. I've always loved her. Ken Marino is maybe even better this time around as Ron. And the jokes are still there. The Hollywood satire is there. They're having a lot of fun sending up all the comic book movies and stuff like that. So again, you haven't seen Party Down on Stars, catch up on it. They still have 4 episodes left in this revival season. And then finally, I got all caught up on Wu-Tang and American Saga. This one's on Hulu. There's 5 episodes out in the 3rd and final season, 5 left. This is a great one, no matter if you really are a fan of the Wu-Tang Clan or not. If you just kind of enjoy kind of semi-autobiographical stuff, kind of like struggle movies, music movies. I mean, there's a lot going on here. It ebbs and flows a little bit early on, but once you kind of hit the second half of the second season, I mean, it's like a dynamite, like 5 episodes, like just gripping. They integrate the music in a really cool way. RZA has written some of the episodes, does the music, produces, the whole Wu's involved. So it's pretty genuine. Again, on Hulu. You don't have to be a Wu-Tang Clan fan. You can wait till it's done, but I think they're going to finish real strong here. They had actually what I thought was a great episode about kind of Old Dirty Bastard doing a solo album and everything. I thought it was great. It was a little weird, which makes sense for an episode kind of like when you're inside the mind of the Old Dirty Bastard, but it kind of got review bombed on IMDb. Don't understand why. So if you're hearing bad things about that episode, don't believe it. Who else watched stuff?
Don't believe what you heard. Shout out to Wu. And yeah, good call, dude. Appreciate all that. And definitely rest in peace to the Sizemore. Thank you. Moment of silence for you here. Magnum Mills, I do want to comment on just a quick thing here, dude. I am a fan of period pieces and a fan of historical reference. Really enjoy it. I'm a child of history, always will be a student, love to study it, understand it, and hopefully not repeat it, at least only repeat the good parts, right? I have been watching, in that vein, I have been watching Rome on HBO. And this is one that when it came out, I think it was like 2006, 2007 timeframe, maybe 2007, 2008, somewhere in that time frame. I never caught one. I didn't see the pilot. I saw previews here and there. But this was really not one that was on my radar. I'm watching this and I got to tell you, man, there's only 2 seasons, right? So there's 12 episodes in season 1, 10 episodes in season 2, and I'm a couple of episodes deep into season 2, and I got to tell you, this is fan-fucking-tastic. Classic HBO style with an awesome opening intro song and visuals to go along with it. Shout out to the big dicks. All right. It's no spoiler, but when you watch it, you will know. And shout out to the historical reference piece here. Big fan of Julius Caesar, or Gaius Julius Caesar, if you will, and kind of his rise and ultimately his fall. But what this show does fantastic is they bring in outside characters that when people understand and study Caesar, they don't really know about all these other players that were involved. And it paints the world spectacular. We've seen him do it with Westworld, with Deadwood, with Boardwalk Empire, right? Like all these incredible sets. I mean, shit, Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, right? Let's not front. They do this great set work. Rome does not disappoint at all. You feel like you're in the old country. I've been to Rome, and it's fun when you look down, because when you're in Rome now, first of all, the whole city is a walking museum, living, breathing museum. But when you look down at the ruins of old Rome, you kind of see it, and it makes you feel like you're there. So shout out Rome. This is a fantastic thing that HBO did that really didn't get a ton of press and no one's really talking about it. I think it's fucking awesome, and I've really enjoyed it. I got six or seven episodes to go here to finish this one, but for a two season deep show, yeah, it's worth it, buddy. It's worth it. And yes, absolutely all over The Last of Us. Fantastic work. You're super excited about this, and that's been a ton of fun. But that's it for me. So hit me with that stew.
Yeah. I'll hit you with some stew, man. This past week, honestly, man, it's like, every once in a while you get like one week, or give or take, about a week, and it's usually about once a month where can't really jam anything into a certain hole. So my eye holes, I didn't really get to fill them with anything, man. I had to substitute and go with a different hole, like any normal person would do. And I filled my ear holes with something, man. I didn't have a whole lot of time to sit in front of the TV this week, so I filled my ear holes with a podcast. And I got into the Jay and Silent Bob Get Old podcast, which is actually really fucking good, man. Obviously, it's Kevin Smith and Jay Muse, and it's hilarious because it's them. But the reason they started this thing and it's old, it's several years old now, but the reason they started this was like kind of like a therapy thing for Muse, because of his struggles with addiction. He's been in and out of rehab and shit a bunch of times, and to kind of keep him I guess, on a good path. They started this podcast and it's been going pretty well, but it really leans into that. And it's a lot of stories and shit that normal anybody probably would never know, but very interesting and definitely a good one, So that's where I'm at.
Shout out that, dude. I mean, Hole's a Hole. I definitely listened to some of the Smodcast stuff. Like, I remember listening to that when it first came out. Like, when I used to have to attach my iPod to the computer and like download it from iTunes onto my iPod so that I could listen to it as a podcast. Like, back when you wanted to like hook it to your car, you needed like an FM transmitter that you had to hook into your, back before there were just the straight cords or anything like that. Way back in the dark ages, like back when I had a Rome buddy. I had a friend who he watched Rome and Weeds, but another show so those are two shows that I've seen episodes of, but I've never seen the whole. I've definitely probably seen, I think, like 3 mid-run episodes of Rome. I couldn't tell you really what happened or any of the characters, but I remember watching it and liking it. But that was the time I was kind of doing a lot of things. I didn't really get into shows like that. And you also had to like own the DVDs probably or something to be able to catch up on them back then. There was no HBO Go or whatever.
The power of streaming has brought the opportunity to revisit some of this great work that maybe didn't get the buzz. I mean, you got to think when that was hitting, everyone was all over. It was like the Sex and City. It was Sopranos, right? I mean, there was these huge Oz might have been still running. I mean, there was these huge, massive bangers. I think Rome kind of got buried a little bit and didn't really get the respect it's due. But I definitely recommend going in there and giving it a rewatch. Also, Muse. Shout out to Jason Mewes and dude, Kevin Smith, man. I love that they did something soup. Great callback, promoting getting right, promoting finding sobriety. If you're struggling, there is brighter days ahead, man. Not every day has to be a day where you struggle. So we look forward to celebrating all those successes with anyone who's going through the battle. And man, there's all sorts of groups and resources out there, and we promote it every step of the way. So good shout out there, Soup.
And before we kind of move off this, just real quick, we do also talk about football on the Joe Blow Football Show. And Travis Kelce just hosted SNL. Did anybody catch any parts of that? I caught most of it after the fact on YouTube. I think overall he was pretty good. I thought there were a couple of really good skits. I thought the opening monologue was cool. You saw Jason Kelce, his brother, come in for a little cameo. So I enjoyed it. Anybody else catch any of that?
I was unable to catch any of that. I did see a random skit, just one part of it, and it was pretty funny.
He was good, like for an athlete. He was top tier athlete host, I think. Like he I think more like he actually had pretty good comedic timing and good presence, but you could tell he missed a couple of lines kind of, or he struggled with the line reading. But for the most part, as far as the comedic, like the beats and everything, I think he nailed it. I thought it was pretty impressive, but it was funny because Jason Kelce came on and you were like, oh boy, like he kind of like did the older brother, little brother thing. And you were like, yeah, Jason Kelce might actually be a little bit naturally funnier even. So I think there's a future for the Kelce brothers if they want to do stuff or whatever. And the one thing it brought up that I forgot about, and shout out Travis Kelce for bringing it up, dude had a dating show on E! Back in the day. I totally forgot about it 100%. And they kind of brought it back up, and he brought it back up as a joke, and it's not streaming anywhere or anything. But now I am determined to go find some clips. I don't even remember what the name it is, but yeah, Travis Kelce definitely started like a dating show on E! At one point. So
interesting.
Gonna fill my eye holes with that someday.
Who would have thunk it? And that brings us to our featured review for this episode. Last time, Mills pitched us on watching the first episode of Yellowjackets, the pilot episode, which is a series on Showtime. And for the record here, we will be spoiling the events of the pilot episode, but that's it. We won't discuss anything beyond this episode that we all watched here. Mills, go ahead, brother. This is your baby. Set the table for us, Yellowjacket style. And may I add, set the table and focus on the meat.
And then lastly, there is the matter of meat, and who among us gets to graze upon it?
Yeah, dude, like JBG said, Yellowjackets is from Showtime. So far, there's been one 10-episode season that ran from November 2021 to January 2022. There was going to be 9 episodes in season 2, and it's scheduled to premiere on March 26, 2023. And as far as the details for this episode, this is Yellowjackets, season 1, episode 1, titled Pilot. It aired on November 14th, 2021. 246,000 viewers in the US tuned in live to watch. The episode was directed by Karen Kusama. Episode was written by Ashley Lyle and Bart Nickerson. And honestly, this is one of those shows, got a huge ensemble cast, so I'm not going to list everybody because we'll be here all day. And the short plot synopsis for the episode is, on the eve of a fateful flight, a championship high school girls soccer team celebrates by betraying one another. 25 years later, the survivors do their best imitations of well-adjusted people.
Let's start here by giving our overall thoughts on this episode. Did you guys enjoy this, and did it hook you enough to want to immediately watch that next episode? Soup, give us your breakdown on this episode, bro.
Yeah, I did enjoy the episode, man. I had heard of the show and I had never seen it. Matter of fact, I didn't even really know what it was about, which is cool because I went into it almost totally, totally with no knowledge. But I thought it was overall it was good. It was well put together. I like the era of the mid '90s there. That's kind of like, it's relatable to me because we're about the same age, which is definitely cool, nostalgic and whatnot, and they did well with going back and forth between the present and that time and everything. Soundtrack was great. There was a lot of really good things about it, and it definitely hooked me to where I want to watch the next one. I didn't yet because I didn't want to confuse and say something that would be like in that episode and not in this one. So that is on deck, and I will be watching more of them. So
I'll go next year because I have a little bit of that problem in that I have seen all of the episodes. So I had to watch it like 3 times to try to drill in my head like what hasn't happened. So I will be careful here. And I'll try to even talk about it from the first time I saw it. It had already come out, so I was able to watch the next episode right after that. But really, this was a pilot that I liked. I mean, it maybe the only worry I had is it was one of those shows where there was a little bit of everything. You had like some Lost, some Lord of the Flies, like Game of Thrones, like some Riverdale, The Terror. There's all these kind of different things that they're pulling from, but ultimately it's pretty cool when they pull it off, and I think they did. And that was kind of my question. I'm like, how long can they pull this off for? You've got the 2 different timelines kind of and everything, and there's kind of the whole mystery box aspect, which I always love, but it's hard to pull off. There's been a lot of these pilots that are really cool, and I get into it, and then it doesn't get renewed or something. No worry here. Season 2 hasn't even aired yet. It's already been picked up for season 3, and they're basically saying it's going to be 5 and out. They have the story, everything like that. So I think that all works. And there's also the degree of difficulty when you have the 2 different sets of actors playing the same characters. And I think they've really pulled it off well here. And, I really enjoyed it. And again, no spoilers, but I would say overall that the show is one of the ones that actually makes good on the promise that it shows in the pilot. JBG, thoughts on the pilot episode of Yellowjackets?
Yeah, look, man, this is there's a lot going on in this, right? And I think that we should just stop for a minute and just celebrate on the fact that like what they accomplished in this pilot episode is really impressive. I mean, it gives you the entire backdrop. They flip between, the past, right? The 90s and then to present day. And you had 2 different acts, but what's crazy about it? They nailed the casting on this, and the actors and actresses did such a fantastic job because when you're seeing the present day adult and you're seeing the 20 year ago teen, right? Like it's who's who, and I think that that's really hard to do. We've seen other shows kind of do it good and not do it so good. So I think that's impressive, and we should compliment that 100%. But outside of that, they really did a great job of kind of laying the foundation and getting me so excited about where this can go. And not only is it a crazy story in and of itself, but they started to introduce some interesting components to modern day characters that survived that are going to that'll lead itself to some interesting things. You got somebody running for public office. There's some shit here that I think they can really build on and kind of add some drama and add some suspense to this, which I think would be fucking awesome. So excited about this one. And dude, shout out to look, 80s baby, shout out to 90s rock music, one of the most fantastic eras of music, period. We had a real run from like 91 to like 97. And that goes for not just 90s rock, but 90s rap as well. Absolutely stunning how great that era of music was.
I like that. That's a backdoor pitch for the Woo joint because that's exactly when that's happening, dude, in the mid 90s. So
yes.
I like you helping me out there.
we lived through an incredible era of music, and it was fantastic, dude. So that should be talked about. But outside of that, this, as far as getting me hook, line, and sinker, yeah, I'm in on this, man. I'm really excited about see where they go with it.
Awesome. And I will say, just off the top of my head, I came up with 3 good instances of like the casting with the younger actor and the older actor. When you had River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones at the beginning of The Last Crusade, I thought that was a real good one. And obviously the classic Bobby De Niro in Godfather 2 playing the young Vito Corleone. I think that was really good. And then finally, Jimmy Simpson in Westworld. I won't spoil who he's playing or whatever, but shout out Jimmy Simpson, also very good.
Nice,
Well,
dude.
man, while we're on that real quick, I'm going to go ahead and shout out everybody that played a younger version of the Sopranos characters in Many Saints of Newark, man, because they all fucking crushed it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones in that.
Nice call, dude. Good throwback there. Good
Especially Tony's mom. I forget who. I was Vera Farmiga, I think. Like, she was great as like doing a young Nancy Marchand. Like, that was very good.
Yeah,
Good shout out there.
She murdered. Good shout out. And guys, this episode comes in shit, dude. Let's just call it what it is. Comes in kind of hot here, right? I mean, you get the girl running through the woods. She gets trapped. There's bloody footprints and random persons showing up in furs. I mean, what did you think of this opening scene? Anybody else kind of catch any Game of Thrones vibes here? I mean, I thought this was really cool from like a cult type, sinister type shit. Like this had me very curious. And what's awesome is by the time the episode came to a close, I was just as curious.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely, man. I think it was a great opening, dude. I mean, it catches you right away. It's definitely there's some weird evil shit going on. I mean, that's the first thing you're gonna think, or the first thing I thought. Weird evil shit going on, dude.
Yeah, Blair Witch, and that's the opening. If you actually forget, the opening scene of Game of Thrones is kind of like where the White Walkers, you don't even really see them, but then they arrange the bodies in a weird symbol, which is again never explained. That symbol's supposed to mean something, but here we get the same thing, kind of like that symbolism, the little weird like Blair Witch things hanging in the trees. And so yeah, definitely, it was one of those things, if you didn't know what the premise was, and even I knew what the premise was, but it's still kind of like, I was like, okay, here we go, like this is going to be something. So yeah, I thought it was interesting, and it kind of got you in. And it's also one of those things like, oh boy, how are they going to ever pay this off?
No doubt. And while we're at it, any thoughts on any other scenes we get in the woods specifically? I mean, were you ready for full-on cannibalism in the first episode? I mean, I think that's pretty bold, right? The fact that they went to cannibalism, and not only did they go there, just those intense shots of like meat being piled on a plate and like shaking and fresh off the fire. Like dude, they went there with cannibalism here. I
They
didn't
hang the
see
body
that
to like the drain and everything. I mean, if you're willing to go to incest in a pilot, why not cannibalism, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, well, here's the thing, dude. You think about, and this is something that's been touched on several times, is like, you get the plane crash and the survivors that are in the middle of fucking nowhere, usually someplace cold or whatever the fuck. But most of those end up turning into somebody's going to eat somebody. The first thing you're going to think is fucking somebody's going to eat somebody. So I think to slam that right into the face of the show, or to slam people in the face with that right away, in the first fucking pilot episode, and kind of get it out of the way, was probably a good idea. Because then even when they do come back to it again, it's not going to be it's like,
yeah, and they kind of do that throughout the episode. They keep coming back to it a couple times before the final reveal that one of like is Misty.
what was it, like the movie Alive or whatever? There's one where it ends with that. It's like, oh man, that's the climax. Is they ate people. We already know that's going on, so that means there's more, and I like that.
Yeah, good point, dude.
Having sex with them, camels, mammals, and rabbits. I didn't get into that. I kicked that habit.
Guys, let's flash back a bit further to the girls before they get on that plane. Did you like how the show introduced us to kind of the teenage version of these characters? I mean, sometimes hitting all the high school tropes can make it feel like the show is just kind of checking off boxes a little bit, but do you think the show did a good job of getting us to relate to these characters, even though teenagers are kind of the worst when it comes to television characters? I mean, AJ Soprano, but also you could say Meadow Soprano. Like this isn't even like teenage. This is like
Janice
teenage
Soprano.
girls.
She was a teenager once.
it was like teenage girls. I mean, it's not, that's kind of a little bit of a tough sell, but I thought they did a good job kind of blending that. Look, even in the 90s before cell phones, there was girl drama when it came to teens and shit. And I think they did a good job of showing that.
Yeah, one dude definitely had a pager too, spotted the pager. That's time frame correct. And actually the party seemed about like that this is in Jersey. Like that feels about right with the red Solo cups and kind of just like the one keg that they got someone's older brother or somebody to buy, and the whole kind of feel like the way all the clicky stuff. And even I think the team stuff, like obviously I can't really speak for girls soccer, but I was on like high school teams, and you would definitely, there would be a solid middle ground, but then you'd have some, like one or two just smart people, or like, not necessarily everyone on the team like fit in the same kind of social circles or whatever. And I think they do a good job of that here. So it's not just like, oh, here's the smart one, here's the one who does drugs, here's the slutty one, here's the rich one or whatever. I think they do a good job of giving them depth, and also like you said, trying to tie it into where they are as adults. And then also through the episode you're doing math too. You're trying to be like, okay, there's the young one, which one's their older self, and then which one's which, and then oh wait, who's her older self?
Well, see, that's the thing, man. It's like right now, and it's early on, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, well, who's still out there, who's not there, like, because I'm sure we haven't been introduced to all of the characters yet, and even at the end of that episode, I mean, we finally got introduced to the last one there at the end, which I kind of like that, which was cool. And I don't know. So I'm sure we'll get to that later. So carry on.
Did anybody kind of expect the teenage plot to stand out to you? I mean, did that, like, I thought they nailed the high school kind of party atmosphere, especially for that era, right? I mean, we
I've
all
been to
kind
that
of were
party.
in the woods at keggers and stuff. I mean, anything else in particular stand out here for anybody?
I don't think they went too far over the top. Maybe that, the idea that like the virgin girl is like secretly banging her best friend's boyfriend in the car, and everyone like thinks she's a virgin, and like that's kind of interesting. And they could go a little bit too far with it maybe, but I think it helps that everyone here is good at that. I mean, there's actually a couple of kind of like not your typical kind of sex type scenes here, and they're made to be just like the right level of uncomfortable but still kind of like humorous. I think it really worked for the most part. And again, that's a heavy lift. Like you said, you're talking about an hour here, all these different characters. There's a lot of shows that might have only elected to do kind of, let's bring 2 and 2 here or something, and do it slowly over the first 3-4 episodes. Like I believe that's how Lost did it, and some of these bigger ensemble shows have done it. So it took a little bit of balls to throw, a fair number to try to get you the idea when you see the girls on the plane at the end. You have a good idea about like who about half of them are or so.
Yeah, a lot of balls to juggle there, dude, and they juggled them well.
Yeah, it helps answer a little with the Valium or whatever, got to raid the cabinet. Not really, but it helps on a plane.
Guys, let's move on to the adults here. I mean, first up, we've got Melanie Linsky as the adult version of Shauna. This is a big episode for her, right? I mean, we open up with her rubbing one out to her daughter's boyfriend, and then she does what Elmer Fudd could never do, and she kills the wabbit. Any thoughts on adult Shauna here? I mean, this was kind of she kind of carried it, didn't she?
If we we're talking about the Wu-Tang, she would probably be like my Inspector Deck, like a little bit of a live wire here. Like you get the idea that she is like a full-on act, and she knows it's an act, and like she occasionally drops it a little bit. And we see it a little bit with all of them, but she seems to be the one who's kind of doing it with the most like self-awareness, that like she is totally pretending to like do something because either she has to or she's expected to or whatever, and that she is just sick of it, but yet she'll yell at anybody else for not keeping up the facade or whatever. It's interesting, right? Like it's just enough interesting, and not something you see every day. And I know the actress has talked about it, like when the director is, yeah, we want to open the first time we meet your character, she's masturbating to a picture of her daughter's boyfriend. Like that's a choice for a show, especially if we're dealing with the younger version of the character too. So, and I think, the Melanie Lansky, she's been blowing up a little bit. She also appeared on Sunny way back in the day, just did a little stint on Last of Us, been around for a long time and a lot of stuff. So, I think this is a really good role for her. And I mean, I think all of the adult actresses we're going to go over here, I think are just absolutely slaying it, really.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about Connie Cypress as the adult version of Tysa. she seems like the only one of the adults who has her shit together, right? I mean, she's kind of got to figure it out.
I mean, she's the one running for political office. You saw, like, when they were, in the younger version, she's the one who slide tackled the chick, and that was nasty when she fractured that chick's leg. But everyone's like, oh, she took care of the problem, and you get the idea that that's kind of like her personality type, right? That's why she wants to be the leader, the problem solver. So that kind of puts her in that, the political wheelhouse. But she's also the one who, probably doesn't necessarily pay attention or keep her deals because everyone is like, all right, we're going to stay out of the public eye. We're not going to talk to reporters. And you see the reporter coming around this episode and everything. And yet she's out there running for public office and she didn't give anybody a heads up. So, a little bit of a wild card, maybe.
I guess that lets us move on to Christina Ricci as the adult version of Misty. She might be the scariest of the bunch here, right? I mean, when she takes that old lady's morphine and tells her, don't fuck with me, I believed her. I mean, I'm sure you did too. Then she's all happy and cheery to her coworkers. I mean, you guys got a thought on adult Misty here? She seems pretty, I think she likes the idea of punishment and maybe killing. I don't know. That's what I picked up from her.
She seems crazy. I mean, like, she might, like, legitimately, she has the crazy eyes, that whole kind of like dual persona kind of thing. Like, and when anybody is that nice and like that cheerful and everything, I am instantly suspicious because I don't believe anybody can be that cheery and that nice all the time unless they are literally deliberately choosing to do so. Maybe that's just a choice you've made instead of like being it to hide your psychosis or something. But yeah, dude, I mean, major Dennis Reynolds vibes here. Major Dennis Reynolds, because this feels like a lot what he kind of does as far as when he actually gets aggravated and lets his real self out as opposed to like the persona he tries to put on. I think there's a lot of that going on here, and definitely makes you feel like, especially because this is the spoiler, we get to reveal at the end of the episode she's one of the people in the furs as a kid. So it gives you that context to like, yeah, she is definitely willing to kill this old lady if the old lady keeps giving her shit. Do you think she'd be one of those nurses that kill people or whatever? I know that's like a syndrome or something, so that wouldn't surprise me at all.
In her defense, that old lady did ask for it, though. She was being a bitch, kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like perfect casting too. Like, it makes you wonder if they wrote this role for her or something almost. And there's a couple that are like this. Like, it's just pitch perfect, really. I think.
I mean, Christina Ricci's good in like pretty much everything she's done. So, yeah, I'm a fan. She'll crush it. I've only seen the one, so now I'm just guessing she'll crush it. So, whatever. I have no doubt.
Well, guys, that brings us to Juliette Lewis. Let's talk about her as the adult version of Natalie. She opens the episode in rehab, and by the end, she's, I don't know, damn near on The Sopranos because she's gone and gotten herself a gun. She seems like the proverbial wild card of the bunch, right? I mean, she's always been wild, right? I mean, God, she was, tripping on acid the night before the plane ride. Juliette Lewis's character seems like she can go places for us from a viewership standpoint.
Yeah, and I mean, again, another spot of the casting is so good, you wonder if it was either written for her or this is kind of, they cast her for her specific feel or whatever. But just kind of the nice contrast you get is she seems kind of put together in rehab at the beginning of the episode, and then by the end, she's got the gun, and you see her kind of watching Misty in the parking lot or whatever. So the worlds are starting to collide. But you get the idea when she gets out of rehab and she asks the cab driver, right? Like, when you pick people up here, do they ask you to, just go to the bar right away? And dude's like, you want to go to the bar? She's like, no, I got shit to do. So you get the idea that for whatever it is, she came out of rehab like with a plan, and Juliette Lewis with a plan is scary.
Yeah, she's played a lot of really good roles too, and she does really well with every character that she's played, man. So yeah, again, I think she's clutch in this one as well. It's hard for me to say right now because I've only seen the zero. So I'm like, I know she's gonna be awesome, and she already is awesome. Like, the character is good, well written, and she plays it well. It's fucking Juliette Lewis, man, But yeah, without watching any of the other ones, but yeah, she's from what I'm thinking, man, she's gonna be pretty much primo.
Yeah, that's one of those things, right? When you have so many people, like she didn't, she might have gotten maybe the most screen time of the adult characters, but it's still not that much because they got to whack it up again. You're trying to introduce like almost like what 15 characters over 58 minutes or something like that. So the math says unless they're going to be a lot of scenes together, you know, it's you're going to have to really get to know these people quick. And I think the show did a good job of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it can always be a bit tricky when you're trying to cast young and old versions of the same character. So I ask you guys, do you think the show did a good job here? And which pair of actresses did you think, you know, kind of match up the best?
I mean, I think the best is easy. It's like Misty with Christina Ricci, and I'm forgetting the young character. When I first watched, I thought for a minute that they actually like just had Christina Ricci like in like young makeup or hair or something because it was so close. But I do want to say that the actress who plays Natalie, I don't quite buy like the physical. I think they're like just a little bit different looking, but I think that the voice and the acting and the way she carries herself is perfect. So that's probably why they cast her, even if it wasn't a perfect like 1-for-1 physical representation. So I think those are both really good. I think they're all good. Don't get me wrong, but I think those two especially stand out.
Yeah, I think the Shawnos are probably the top line, but I think we saw the most of those, so maybe that's why I'm thinking that. But either way,
Yeah, the mannerisms were right on between the two. The way they kind of acted and like looked, like the face acting and stuff like that. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree here. I think Natalie was fantastic. But, you know, dude, in defense of Natalie, though, did you not get the feel of like bad girl? Like that, like this is one that's going to push the limits. This is one that's going to kind of learn things and then self-medicate it. Like you just kind of got the feel of like this is going to be a wild hair, a wild flower growing. And I thought they did a good job of that, man. I mean, even if like the physical piece wasn't there, you still knew Natalie, and ultimately that's the hardest thing to do here. Ironically enough, I think they did it with all of them.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a bad one. This is a very rare show that I think has nailed this. And the good news is they cast these people and they're kind of, you know, seniors in high school. So realistically, you can cast like 20-year-olds, which means that they shouldn't theoretically change too much physically for the next couple of years. So you can pull this off. Whereas if you were casting like freshmen in high school or something, they would look dramatically different by the time the series ended. So, you know, I think they lined it up right with that kind of thing too. So they can actually pull this off and do the 5 seasons.
5 seasons, huh? Wow.
That's what they say they have. I mean, they have 10 episodes, 9 episodes, so that's around call it 45 to 50
Part of me is going to
episodes.
be like, I really want to know the whole story, and I know you're not going to get it until this whole fucking thing's over, man.
They got to keep you watching, though. I mean, that's
watching, right?
I think 5's the sweet spot for shows. Like for like a show like this, it's kind of mystery. Like it's long enough you can get everything out there. You don't leave anything on the table, but not so long that you got to keep you got to start really stretching for shit. So, and I like the idea that they, you know, they have a little bit of a roadmap and stuff like that too. And based on, you know, the first season, like I said, no spoilers, but I'm confident they can pull it off. Here's the deal, man. Like I think I've won this one, but I just want to check. So let's real quick talk turkey or wabbit or whatever. I'm the one who suggested this, so I'm obviously in. I'm watching season 2. I'm very excited. And after one episode, I just want to know what y'all think. To paraphrase Elaine Bennis here, is Yellowjackets sponge-worthy to you? Are you gonna come back, watch the other 9 episodes, or is this a one and done for you? Jamie G, is Yellowjackets sponge-worthy?
I think it is. I think it's definitely worthy of like, hey man, I want to see where they go with this. Like, you know a lot, but I'm also kind of banking on the fact that they showed us so much here this first episode that there's got to be so much more at play. So that has me excited here. I mean, it's not just, you know, as Soup alluded to kind of early on in this episode, it's not so much as like, oh wow, well they ate some people and did some crazy shit out there. I think it's going to be much deeper, much more complex than that. I'm excited to see where they take it. So for me, yeah, I think it is.
What do you think, Soup? There, I mean, your time is limited, just like the supply of sponges. Is Yellowjacket sponge-worthy?
Yeah. I think it is sponge-worthy, man. And I'm gonna, you know, I soaked in that first episode just like a sponge, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and watch the rest of them, man. I enjoyed it, and yeah, sponge-worthy. I'll give it a spongy thumb up, dude.
2 sponges up. That's what I'm talking about.
For spongy, dude.
Spongy. I'll give it a spongy squeeze.
Let's finish up by deciding what we're going to watch for our next episode. We're all going to give a quick elevator pitch and then vote on the winner. You cannot vote for yourself. If there's a tie, we spin the magic wheel. Soup, you're up first here, followed by Magnum Mills, and I close us out.
This week, I'm going to pitch a movie from 2003 called Wonderland. Stars Val Kilmer, got the Friends chick in there, Kate Bosworth, the Bogosian guy. Anyway, true story based on a lot of facts, whatever, man, about the life of John Holmes after his porn career, which was pretty fucking crazy, man. A lot of fucking really explicit drug use, and he was involved in a series of murders as well. So the story gets pretty nuts, it gets pretty fucking graphic, and it's really a fucking good, fucking solid movie. And it's Val Kilmer, who just fucking nails pretty much everything, 98% of fucking everything he's ever done. So it's a good, solid Val Kilmer movie. It's a good, solid fucking watch, man, and it'll definitely catch your attention. And it was based on true events, which even makes it more intriguing.
Yeah, even if it's not like 100%, there's definitely truth to it. John Holmes definitely had definitely a life that was worthy of having a movie made about it, whether it's, shows penetration or not. I'm up next here, and I had a plan pre Tom Sizemore passing away. I'm not going to say what it was now, but I decided, all right, I want to do a Tom Sizemore thing. First thought was, let's do The Gang Gets Stranded in the Woods, but we'll save that for Nightpod Cometh. You should check it out. We've already talked about Natural Born Killers. I kind of gravitated towards Passenger 57, but he doesn't really play a huge role in that, and it's really more of a Wesley Snipes flick. And to be honest with you, we really like that more than it's probably worth, just out of nostalgia. Obviously, I think Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down are top tier Tom Sizemore movies. But again, we like to have some fun here. Not a lot of fun talking about those movies. Almost went with Strange Days. We've talked about this one. It had Juliette Lewis, and I watched it, but it's almost 2.5 hours. It's a little slow. So I was like, oh, can we do better? Striking Distance. That should be good, but it's not fun enough, right? I want to have fun. I want Tom Sizemore to be there. So fuck it, dude. We're going to do the fun one. It's true that Tom Sizemore doesn't have a huge part in this one, but it doesn't matter because I'm pitching True Romance. If you've never seen it, you need to. This is Tony Scott directing a script written by Quentin Tarantino, another massive ensemble cast like Yellowjackets. You got Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette up top with top billing. This is a legitimate cult classic and an extremely fun movie to watch and talk about. You get Tom Sizemore, again, not a huge role, but in this movie, almost everybody except Slater and Patricia Arquette has about the same size of role. I think it'd be a fun, great time to talk about it. Just rewatched it. Totally holds up. Excellent time. We've talked about it a lot without doing it. I think we stopped edging and we really do the True Romance thing. That brings us to Jamie G. You have to, top True Romance or Wonderland.
Boy, it's really tough, guys. I don't think I can do it, but you know what? All that's left for me is to try. I am going to take us on a little journey. It's going to be a movie, but I want everyone to just kind of calm down and just bear with me, okay? I've been on a little bit of a run lately. I just look. I think last time I pitched Big Trouble in Little China, it didn't get the traction I was hoping. I'm going to continue that feel into Escape from New York. I'm talking about Snake Plissken. I'm talking about a good fucking time. I'm talking about a futuristic world in which we send our prisoners to an island and they have to just kind of sort themselves out and live on it. Dude, all I should have to say is Snake Plissken, and I should have everyone's support. And I mean that. Escape from New York. Let's do it. It's worth the time.
I saw Escape from LA in the theater. Escape from theater,
Escape from LA. I might like Escape from LA better. Yeah.
So I'll say we might see. You probably should have pitched the double feature like Wu-Tang Clan did.
Kurt Russell's got the best names. Jack Burton, Snake Plissken. You know what I mean? He's always got a good fucking name.
He really does.
Snake Plissken. I can't even believe that. I can't even believe we're talking about anything else.
Well,
so guys, Mills, that leads us to you. You got to recap our options. You got to remind us what order we're voting in and give us the deets.
All right. This one is pretty easy. Soupdeucer pitched Wonderland, John Holmes kind of biopic starring Val Kilmer. I pitched True Romance, the Tony Scott directed film. He's got a Quentin Tarantino script. Christian Slater and a lot of people are having a lot of fun. And Jamie G pitched the John Carpenter classic Escape from New York, starring Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken. All great picks. And what we do is we vote in the reverse of the order we picked. So, Jamie G, you will vote first, followed by myself, then the Soupdeucer. Again, we cannot vote for ourselves. And if we wind up with a tie, we just spin the wheel to do one of the three.
Be real here. I love True Romance. It's up there, man. I love it. I've seen it probably, I don't know, over a half dozen times. It's a great flick. I'm gonna go with Wonderland. I have not watched, I think maybe once, but I'm not recalling. I do not recall. I'm like Jeff Sessions under oath. I do not recall. So I am gonna give it that for my vote.
That brings it to me, and I am going to go with Escape from New York, man. You get, I got a Snake, man.
Snake Plissken. Thank you, Mills. Should you have to say anything else?
If you can't say it all, just say Snake.
It's fucking Snake Plissken. I mean, come on. Sue?
This is tough, dude. This is tough. But there's no way I can not go with True Romance, dude.
Wow.
I've tried to get, and that would be a great one. Everybody's fucking in it, dude. There's so much we could, that'd be a good one to do. Not that they wouldn't all be good ones to do, but I've been wanting to do True Romance for a hot minute, so that's I got to go there, man.
All right. Well, that brings us to a old-fashioned tie. That means we need to spin the magic wheel. Magnum Mills, let's get a winner.
Give me 1 second. I'm making a wheel.
All right, we got a wheel. We have a wheel, dude. And let her spin. Good usage of colors, like promoting like St. Patrick's Day in the future here. I like it. And we're left with, oh, we got there. We got there. Oh.
Escape from New York.
Snake, you will live forever. Escape from New York, dude. Very, very, very pumped about this. This is going to be a good time. You guys will not. I know you might be feeling a pinch right now.
I've seen this at least as many times as you've seen True Romance, so you don't have to overpitch it. It's very fun. Don't fuck with the Duke, yo.
That little sting that Soup's feeling, that's just pride.
You didn't even talk about the Duke, dude. You pitched Escape from New York and you didn't even talk about the Duke, dude.
Very pumped about this. Thank you guys for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, where regular dudes watch stuff. We really appreciate you. Thanks for checking us out. Remember, like and subscribe. Make that a to-do item. Get it done. If you've got a movie or a show that you'd like us to talk about, let us know on social medias. Hit us up in the comments of this YouTube video, this podcast. Let us fucking know. We would love to break it down. Magnum Mills, remind everybody where they can find us. We do a lot of shit.
I mean, we're in all the main stuff, like for podcasts. Just search for Regular Dudes Watch Stuff wherever you're getting your pods. We are there. We're on YouTube. You can just search for Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, or you can just go to JoeBlowFootballShow.com, bring you right to our YouTube channel. And we are on the social medias, as they say, at Dudes Watch Stuff. Nice and easy, spelled how it sounds, at Dudes Watch Stuff. And on behalf of myself, Magnum Mills, the Soupdeucer, and Jamie G, thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week to check out Escape from New York.
Oh, I cannot wait. Thank you again for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We'll see you next week. Peace.
I got a snake, man.
What?
Oh, you got a trouser snake, all right, dude.
Hey, man, I got one right here. Look, shit. I got a fucking snake right back here in my damn whatnot, dude.